That was it. I drove for 3 days.
Wow. Now, but that was volunteer. I mean, that was something you weren't getting paid for. What made you be willing to do that?
There's like, when you grow up in an area, grow up around people that don't have much, don't have large visions, don't accomplish a lot, you're not exposed to a lot, but you know it exists out there. And I think part of it is just like, God, how do I get access to that? How do I see that? How do I learn what these people have done? How do I know what they've done? How do they think? How do they act? How do they treat their wives? What do they do all day? And I think that insatiable thirst to say, and what's the truth behind the truth? What do these people actually do? What have they done? Like, how do I get around that? And I think that specifically is what drove me. I mean, even just being around you guys, like, how does Bob speak so well? And how do I learn to speak better? And Joe's a machine. The guy's like on here today, he just works, and just accomplishes. He's like a one-man wrecking ball. Like, how does Joe do so much? You know what I mean? And you start getting around these people, and you're just like, okay, well, I watched Joe like randomly at an airport, just grinding on his laptop with his earpieces in, and he's always posting like what music he's listening to. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start listening to music because Joe listens to music when he works now. You know what I mean? And you pick up these nuances when you're around them. How do you treat people? How do you act? What do you do? How do you be more productive on a daily basis and get better results? So, yes.
You know, I think one of the interesting thing though is, and you did that when you were pretty young. You're still pretty young compared to me. But so when I look at it, I go, you know, so many people want to get paid for everything that they do, every minute that they want to do, especially in the age of, you know, some entitlement and things like that. But I mean, you made this conscious decision to just make sure that you were around people. I remember one day you asked me, "Hey Bob, can I be your chauffeur and drive you to the speaking engagement?" I'm like, "Dude, really?" And you're like, yeah, I just want to drive you to it. And I'm thinking, how cool. And, you know, I've done that many times. But as I share that with people, people go, what? Why would you do that? Why would you work for free? Why would you spend so much time? I mean, you've done this over and over again. I've done that over 70 times where I've worked for somebody for free, whether it was 5 hours, 100 hours, you know, 2 weeks or 6 months. But most people don't do that. So the fact that you've done that, I think really already sets you apart. But you had this T-shirt business, right? So you create this T-shirt business and you start selling them at like these concerts, the Christian concerts and stuff like that. And what did you do to take that from an idea to the first sale and then beyond?
So, funny story. It was literally, I was like 18 years old. I was in church and there's this girl, Donna, her name's Donna, it was Donna Cardone, now it's Donna Britton now. And she came up with the design. I was like, oh, we should make shirts, Donna, and sell these. And she's like, yes. She's like, yo, you can have it. I was like, awesome. And it was a real simple shirt. I don't even know why we made it. I can't remember any details, but we made 12. Just 12. Sold those 12, bought 36 more with those 12. For those 36, we bought 100 and whatever the math is, like in groups of 12 more, you know, 108. And then we bought 300, then 600, then 1,800 shirts. And then we bought, you know, 40, whatever the math is, as you go up and you just triple it. And also we started be able to take some of the money and use it for more. And then we built a website. And then by 95, we had like a website up. 96, we started building our own online shopping cart. And that was built by this guy, Travis Kuntz, the guy I grew up surfing and skateboarding and lifeguarding with. Brandon Howells helped a little bit with some of the designs, and another guy, Ashley Jensen, and kept coming up with creative ideas. And we kept making more and more shirts, and people started selling them. And we started getting invited to like sell them at conferences, and big name pastors liked them, so they wanted to invite us. And one guy, Greg Johnson, ran a church called Foursquare, and he was a international youth director for Foursquare. Got us in a bunch of places. I mean, it just spun, you know. Then we were in Amway at the same time, so Amway guys asked, "Hey, can you do our T-shirts and our hats and our stickers?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And we just kept growing and growing, and then we started building shopping carts, and we spun off a company called Value Web at that time. And it all grew, and I knew nothing about contracts, Bob, knew nothing about taxes, knew nothing about organization. there was money in the bank. We spent it, and that was the way it worked. And it was a complete cluster at the very end. It like crashed hard. I had no coaching, no training, no business, no mentors, nothing. No one telling me where to go, what to do. I didn't even know taxes even existed. I didn't know any of this stuff. Like it was a complete, I went bankrupt. I charged all this money on credit cards. I thought we were going to keep going. People didn't pay their bills. Like I thought that was I learned the hard way how to really F something up. So I can teach that really well, Bob, how to screw things up. So.
Well, I tell you, it's from our screw ups though that we learn so much, right? And,
yes, sir.
And you've learned so much, and I've witnessed you because I've been, privy to just be up close and personal with you, and watch you run your business, and watch you have your meetings, and watch you, learn as you go as well. And I think that's one of the coolest things about you is that you've remained humble, but at the same time, you're always learning. I mean, this guy spends so much money. I mean, if he added it up, I guarantee it's well over $1 million as far as learning, seminars, courses, coaching. I mean, he spends coaching.
High-end consultants in all angles.
Yeah. I mean, and so guys, I mean, he's a true testament that you've got to make that investment in yourself, in your company, in your team, in your resources. You've got to make those investments. So you take this t-shirt business and it does really well, but then you have some challenges. And I remember, having some people kind of screw you over and things like that as well. But then what was your next business after that?
Well, I built something called Value Up during that same time. They both went bankrupt. I went through, I think we just did, what was it? I think it was like dissolution or chapter 7. Can't remember exactly what it was at the time. The guy had me do. I wish I could find all that one day, and I'm sure it's in public record somewhere. And I tried to pay as much debt down as I could. Finally, I got a coaching from SCORE, Senior Corps of Retired Executives, who had ran NASA, and they just said, "Oh, go bankrupt it and go do something else." I wish that was not the advice. I wish they would have said, "No, this is easy to turn around. You have all these contacts and all these people buying stuff from you on online, and all these like they couldn't even see it. All these contracts, they couldn't see it, and they'd only run large corporations. So getting really good coaching, getting really good consultants, and back to that really quick. Like yesterday at 7 to 9 a.m., we were on the phone with 2 different consultants on a specific issue. Saturday night, I was on the phone till about 8 o'clock, from 6:30 to 8 with another consultant. Friday night, while I was in Florida, at 10:30 to 11:30 at night, I was on the phone with another guy on another issue that's a consultant and a coach, helping work through just very complex things as we're trying to build a growth organization and scale the different company, break up the things into different parts so it can grow and have larger impact. So it's just, most people aren't even willing to do that on their Friday nights or early Sunday mornings to drive or push something. That they're not, most people aren't willing to constantly find ways to push themselves and challenge themselves and put themselves in uncomfortable environments and have people give them the feedback saying, "Troy, you're failing here." And I'm like, I know, like right now, I know I'm failing in my body. And I was like, okay, my walks have gone to crap in the last 3 to 4 weeks, easily 6 to 8 weeks now. I'm like, okay, my workouts are gone. And because of the traveling, because of all that's happening, the workload of like 18 hours a day, my body is starting to go down. I'm like, oh, stop. Gotta go back to the basics. Water, 7.5 hours of sleep, supplements every day, veggie drink again every day, back to walking and some push-ups and some basics. And like, that's where I'm at right now, going back to the basics of body. So I know I can keep scaling the company. So my body crashes, everything crashes. So how do I keep getting the people around me that are going to call me out and say, "Troy, don't eat that gluten, dairy, or eggs or food allergies because it's going to make you fat, or it's going to make you lethargic. It's going to make you tired. It's going to cause inflammation in your system." And then when you're on the road traveling, you're like, "Well, I'll just grab whatever's there. And it's a sandwich, great. I'll eat the sandwich. I'm hungry," and not be disciplined. So the other thing, Bob, lately too, is like this thing called discipline around the process. Like if I could teach anything, it's figuring out what the process is you're living your life by and creating the discipline around the process. And I got that word, that languaging from a guy named, I think his name's Andrew Card. He was a White House chief of staff for Bush. I got to hang out with him one night. have dinner with them, hang out before and after with them, stay up late with them talking.
Awesome.
And the guy was awesome. And one of the questions I asked was like, okay, how did you deal with Cheney? How did you deal with all these world leaders constantly bombarding the president, everyone constantly having different ideas and battling? And what he said was fascinating. And he said this one phrase, discipline around the process. And I'm like, wow, how do I create even more of that in my life when it comes to the daily huddles, weekly meetings, quarterly plannings? How do I get discipline around the process of operation, conflict management, conflict resolution in the company? How do I get discipline around the process of waking up at 6, going for the walk, doing the veggies drink, taking the supplements every day? How do I create that discipline around all these processes that create for better results in my life? So if I could teach anything, Bob, that's kind of like this one thing is like, and then business is easy. My body's the one that I'm like, okay, how do I get around more people that just work out, eat healthy, look amazing? So I start getting their psychology put inside of me. What are they doing that they just naturally, oh, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to eat clean. I'm just going to drink water. I'm just going to I hang around people that don't drink alcohol. Like, you don't drink alcohol. I don't really need alcohol now. Like, I just don't drink much at all. Yeah. And how do I get around those people? So keep going, Bob.
Wow. No, that's great stuff. And I love the discipline around the process. That's awesome. How do you get the process though? I mean, most people have a struggle knowing what the process is. You've developed several processes for several different areas of your life. How did you come up with those processes?
So I think one thing is a lot of things just make sense. And I think a lot of people know what to do. They just got to do the next action, and then they'll do the next action and do the next action. Like, they'll know, well, I know I need to do this. Well, then do it. And as you're doing that, you'll learn the next, and you'll learn the next, and you'll create the process around your life. And then that's one for you personally. Like, most of us intuitively, if we're connected to the voice, listening to the voice, really being intuitive, like what's going on in our world, what's working, what's not. And we just kind of move and develop stuff. The other piece is find models, mirrors, models, mentors, coaches, books. Like, there's so much stuff out there. There's an immense amount of information. So the game is no longer an information game. It's an application game. It's like, how do we apply all the shit we're learning? How do we take all this and put it in a somewhere in our lives and say, okay, how do I be disciplined to turn off the TV? Like, hey, I'm not going to watch the TV. I'm not going to even look at it. Like, I think I've watched that TV a total of an hour and a half in 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. Like, and that's it. That was all the TV. And I was turning it on late at night by myself, and I'm eating a giant meal that I'm just devouring and then falling asleep on the couch after a late night or something. I think that was the only time. And I watched, actually twice I did that actually in the last 6 to 8 weeks. It was Stranger Things. Someone told me to watch. And I watched the Bruce Lee. No, not Bruce Lee. There's a new Karate Kid movie out or something.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, okay, I got to watch it. Someone told me to watch it. Actually, Ty Cannon, of all people. So Ty's awesome. He loves the karate stuff. So,
sure.
But how do we create more discipline around the process and find the mirrors, find the models, and then start inserting them into my calendar? And then I stick it in my calendar. And I'm focusing on this. I wish I could share my calendar right now, but everything's in the calendar from the moment I wake up till the moment I go to bed. And a lot of times the things get blown out of order, but at least I know where my focus is throughout the day and what I need to accomplish so that I can pack it in. And then every Sunday, go through the process of saying, okay, what's working, what's not in all the different areas of my life. So I can say, okay, I got all this information. I did all this quarterly planning, and I'm reviewing my quarterly planning. So I'll take 2 full days every quarter just to say, where am I at with my body? Where am I at with my being? Where am I at with my balance? And where am I at with my business? And literally spend 8 in the morning till 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night for 2 full days, just thinking what's working, what's not, and where do I want to be in the next 90 days? Where do I want my life to end up in the next 90? And then I review that easily 1 to 4 times a week, trying to go through that and say, is it working in the morning, during the journal, during the meditation prayer? I'm looking at it going, okay, what were the questions I wanted to ask myself? What are the questions I want to ask God for guidance? What are the questions I want to apply to my life and say, or pray for and ask for, God, give me guidance on how to grow this company, scale this company. How do I have a larger impact? How do I actually get people to, move forward this company? Or how do I get more people to help with coaching? And that's it. So.
But how, Troy, how did you, even that simple thing of just developing a discipline around the process and creating a process, it requires that humbleness that you have, that coachableness, that teachableness, that most people I find don't have. Their favorite statement when somebody tells them something is, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know." And I say that's the biggest problem with most people, is they think they know what they don't, and they don't know what they don't know. And when you ask a question, you are so present to what that answer is. I mean, you're taking notes. You're glued into the conversation. Do you find that to be something that you were just born with? Did your dad and your mom model that, or was that something you acquired?
So my dad was extremely humble. My mom's extremely humble. My mom grew up in a two-room schoolhouse. She wore the same dress 2 or 3 times in school pictures because they were so broke.
Wow.
She had no paint on the walls. They didn't even have a bathroom in their house. They had an outhouse with a pit, literally. And I think like it's being around like her, like she sells the mentality of it's just like save money, don't spend money, don't blow it. My dad grew up in a really small town. Like my grandmother, on the other hand, from my dad's side, built this huge clothing company. So it was kind of this weird dichotomy of like my dad was exposed to it, but she didn't know how to. My grandmother didn't know how to feed my dad, so there's a little more negativity, and there wasn't a very loving generation of fathers back then, I think. And so I think there was a lot of humility, a lot of like lack of self-worth that all of us experienced growing up, and my parents had that, I think. And my dad was 4 different doctors in one human being. He was a chiropractor, a neurologist, internal medicinist, clinical nutritionist, and he still would dress like he was like a homeless person almost. Like we were at, oh my God, it was the Square, Bob, in downtown San Francisco when the night we were at the Hilton, I think, right there on the square. Oh my God, we go blank. And I remember he was outside. It was cold. He's wearing this old funky blue jacket and this old hoodie he had and these old jeans and the old white shoes. And the guy at the door thought he was a homeless guy and wanted to shoo him off. Away from the front door. He's like, "No, I'm staying here at this hotel." And the guy's like, "You're not staying in this hotel." So he had to come in and show his ID that we were staying there at the hotel. And I was sponsoring a conference up there with one of Robert Scarf's Bridgeport conferences at the time. And Robert's super elegant, his wife's super elegant, and they just loved my parents, but they're nice and humble. And I think that's where we got it from. It's just like, we didn't know any better.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've created now the second business, and you're running that now. You elevate. How did you even come up with the idea of Simpluris? I mean, Simpluris is this completely different than anything you were doing before, right? How did you come up with Simpluris, and what were some of the struggles starting that?
So I'm not an original idea guy, actually. I just take components of what other people are doing and try to add or evolve or innovate on top of that, right?
Awesome.
And I think that's a lot of what happens in business is you get one idea specifically from somebody else, and it's not genius, happen to be in the right place at the right time or whatever it is, and someone shares an idea and you're like, yeah, sure, why not? And you kind of dive wholeheartedly into it. And as you're screwing things up, you're like, oh, we got to change that. Oh, we got to fix it. It'd be a great idea if we added this. And you're just trying to add the best of knowledge because you're reading, you're acquiring information and knowledge from as many sources as possible. You're going to visit friends who own different companies. You're reading every magazine. You're just trying to see, like, what are people doing, reading stuff online, going to hang out with different people and see how they live their lives and their companies and operate. So it was as simple as this. I graduated college. I was running a restaurant. I had just sold a day spa. I say day spa now instead of massage business. Massage business has a rough connotation now anymore. So I built a day spa in college because I was a massage therapist right out of high school. I went to massage school, and I loved it for a short period of time. Like my dad was a chiropractor, worked at his clinic, had a super blast, and then. So I'm flying around. I actually interviewed at a bunch of different places for all these startup companies. One was I think Michael Bloomberg was starting an online records company, and I think that was him I met at one time, and like all these people starting that in Orlando. Had another guy that was starting a protein-based ice cream company that probably would have been really fun to build. You actually lose weight by eating ice cream. I think it's a brilliant idea.
I like
That's
that.
what I'm trying to go after back then.
I could lose lots of weight then.
I think he'd be a champ. And it was super healthy ice cream he was trying to create. And the other idea was this: my buddy Brandon, who I skateboarded and surfed with, as a kid had migrated through the tech world from Florida to San Francisco to LA. When the whole tech boom exploded, he was kind of drifting around, taking whatever jobs he could get from 2000 to 2002 and 3. Said, hey, I got this thing I found. This guy's looking for someone to build this whole brand new idea. Do you want to take it? And I flew out, met with him. It was an awesome opportunity. And it was California, and it was like the craziest thing. Talk about setting goals, cutting out magazines, writing out your intentions. Like there was a dream that I had of this house, and I'd cut the picture out. And then one day I had a rental car, and I was driving down the coast, pull off randomly at a steps in Laguna just to see Laguna, and pull off the steps, and right there on the cliff was that house.
Wow. That's pretty cool. That's pretty powerful.
So I think it's this, Bob. You've got to trust the voice inside of you. Look for the signs. The universe will send them, and ignore the cost. It's painful. It's torturous. It'll take everything from you, but give you so much more if you're willing to pay the price and just go and go and go and not quit and not slack off and not turn on the damn TV and not waste your time, but just push and go and not give up, because so few people are willing to acknowledge the signs and say, yes, I'm going to keep going and pay the price and pay the costs and just not give the fuck up ever. So
it's so good. And I've seen you do that. And I've seen you, take on new projects and just go, I'm just going to do it and just focus on that. And like Balance Genetics, let's talk about Balance Genetics. I mean, this was just something because you're passionate about health. And then you created this product. Tell us a little bit about that.
So good, the same thing, the pain. A lot of things are solving the pain of the world. Like Simpluris solves the pain for attorneys and practical business. And we solve the pain in Simpluris of systems. And we solve the pain of culture not functioning right and shitty work environments and trying to build a better work environment because of the pain I went through. And I think that's the pain of building Balance Genetics, was the pain of crashing while building companies. I ran out of energy. Testosterone was down to 100. I couldn't even have sex anymore. My body was almost up to over 300 pounds. I have documented 287, but it was like all this dysfunctionality in my body. My adrenals were shot. One doctor tried diagnosing with Addison's disease, saying your adrenals aren't working and all these problems. And I just went the natural route. And because of that, I want to build Balance Genetics to help other people that have crashed. But in the process, we need to make it profitable. I need to make enough money so I can invest in sharing the message that there is hope for people, that you can do the things right, sleeping and health, and build companies and still not have your body crash. So Balance Genetics has spawned off to that. And also the other part of it was, what supplement do I take? How do I take it? When do I take it? And what should I be taking? So I want to solve those problems with Balance Genetics. And I don't really care about almost solving it for everybody else as much as solving it for myself and then sharing it with everyone else so they don't go through the same pain I did and same problem. And that's kind of the heart behind Balance Genetics. And it's a process, man. We were at the office late last night till I think I left at 7:38 last night after working from 12 on it with the whole team at the office, grinding on it from 12 to 7:30 on a Sunday, and driving on a conference call and then, meeting another guy here at the house because I got to move again. I'm still working on this crazy remodel, which always keeps getting pushed out another 2 months or 6 weeks, and don't ever do a remodel. Rule number one in life, just don't. It's the worst idea ever. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I remember when you had just were coming out of that crash. I mean, you were just burnt.
Correct. That's when I met you.
You were just tapped out. Yeah, when we met. And I remember, but how humble you were about just expressing. You knew you were tapped out. You knew that you were failing in a lot of areas that you wanted to succeed in. And I think that said a lot about you. But I've watched you now get reinvigorated, re-engaged, really start pressing some new things, start doing some coaching and helping entrepreneurs really learn not only how to grow a business, start a business, scale a business, all that, but how to take care of yourself or how to position yourself to be able to do that so effectively. And I love the fact that you are constantly pushing yourself to be even better at it. And so, yeah, you go through these cycles where, you know, you're on fire, everything's going great, 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 and everyone thinks it's going to last forever. Well, it doesn't. There's things that happen in our lives. It happens. It doesn't matter to who, and it just happens. And then what? Well, that's where what you've learned has really comes in for everyone, I think, because we're all going to have those times. So to have somebody like you is like, hey, yeah, and when I did this, and when I got to that point, and then I crashed and burned, here's what I did. Here's what I surrounded myself with, the power of association. Here are the things that I took, the supplements. Here's the things I began doing, my daily walk and talks. All of those things, you start sharing that, and then people go, okay, you mean I'm not alone in crashing and burning? You mean I'm not alone in having the pinnacle and then having the valley? And I think that's one of the magic. And I'll tell you this, one of the best things about you, Troy, is that you're willing to go through that and share it with others. So many people will go through it, and they will all, especially in the day of social media, they will always be touting how great things are, but they will never tout about the struggles that they go through. And I want to commend you for that, and I want to just keep encouraging you to keep doing that. People need to hear it. And that's just one of the million things I love about you. But so now you've got Simpluris running, you've got Balanced running, and now all of a sudden you're doing coaching. And you're taking high-level clients. You're taking people who really are serious about growing their businesses, teaching them about, you know, concept to reality and then reality to scalability. And, you know, what are the sweet spots that you think you have for those types of individuals, and what types of individuals are going to be the best fit for you?
So I just went through this, and I think it's literally someone that's gone further than you down a path. So if you're at $100,000 to 500 to 700, you're trying to hit the million. You're at $1 million trying to get to the 4 to 5. You're at the 5 to get to the 10. Every one of those steps is different, and there's nuances and mindsets and skill sets that only someone that's been there and done something can guide you through. That you've got to find that niche person. So the people I can impact best are those people trying to grow that, trying to get to those next levels, people that are specifically trying to build their companies to the next level, whatever that is. And how do we deal with HR issues? How do you deal with management issues? How do you deal with your own mindsets and skill sets that are able to drive everything forward? Because if we don't change that, nothing else changes around us. Mm-hmm. And we go over these concepts, we figure out what is the thing, the tool that they need, what is the information, and how do we get the application? How do we drive them? How do we change their bullshit stories? How do we put them through a process where they're releasing the past negatives, the past stories, the past junk that's literally weighing them down so they can be free and see a different possibility? See, if I can get people to see a different possibility, say, yes, I'm willing to take a step, I can probably get them to the next level. And not only get them, but then they can cast vision. And by the way they speak, the way they act, the energy coming from them will drive every aspect of their business forward. So.
Wow. So you're pretty defined on who it is that you're a good fit for. Now.
Took me forever.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part, isn't it? I mean, isn't that a difficult part to just figure out that piece and then be disciplined about that process, right? Yeah. Because what happens with most entrepreneurs, even if they get clear on what it is and who their target market is and how it's supposed to work, somebody comes along and says, well, I'm not your target market, but I do this and this and this. And we're like, okay, we'll go ahead and do it anyways. And we're not disciplined around the process about who the people we're supposed to be working with, who we are in the process. So that's another thing for you that you've done really, really well, and you continue to improve upon that. You know, we've got people that sit there and go, okay, I'm starting a business. I just want to start something. I don't know. I'm coming from an employee. I just want to start something. What's the first thing that you tell them to do? We're not talking about scaling right now. They're just talking about, how do I start a business? What would you tell them?
I could read Scott Duffy's book, Launch.
Launch.
It saves me a lot of breath.
Yeah.
There's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, go by mastering the Rockefeller habits after they launch their business. Number three, after reading that, go by scaling up. You know. Number four, go by Think and Grow Rich before doing anything. You know what I mean? Like, there you go. There's the quickest, fastest answer, because the rest, you go down deep rabbit trails. Like, are they prepared? I mean, like, Scott will go into all that. Are you economically prepared? Are you mentally prepared? Are you physically prepared for I think I'm going to write something. I'm actually going to be part of Kyle's books, and I love Kyle Wilson.
Cool.
I just love the
Wow,
guy.
great.
Anything Kyle wants to do, I want to be a part of it.
Great guy.
So, yeah, and so like, and I'll probably write another book. And we just launched. We're actually just finished recording a program called Hatch to teach entrepreneurs how to run and scale their companies.
Wow.
And we'll be launching that soon here. Just finished recording actually last week, but I think we're going to do another one on economics of endurance. Like there's just the amount of endurance you need to have. There's an economic surrounding endurance in your life, and what are the different aspects of that, right? Like how do you deal with the endurance? And one thing, physically be ready to endure hell if you're gonna launch a business. That's it.
They think I just want to be my own boss. You know, Cindy, my dear friend Cindy Vaughn, you know her. She says, yeah, what I found is most entrepreneurs just have really crappy bosses.
Yeah. And if you have a great boss, I mean, being in a company, working, like so many people have this mentality, even like if they work for a company and they think they're successful there, but they go to build a business, the whole game's different. You're a Saturday, you're a Sunday, you're not going to be there to put down your kids sometimes at night. You're going to be after work on the weekends, and that's the reality. And you're going to have to deal with that. And you hire people that run companies, they better understand that too. I mean, the higher you go up in management, even in companies, like nowadays, you're going to have to, right now there is kind of a shortage of labor, but man, as soon as the wave switches again, people are going to crack the hell down. Yeah. And here's an interesting fact too. If you're not evolving, we were at this, my brother and I, Zach, were at this innovation conference. 25% of the American workforce is going to be displaced if they're not innovating their skills, because that's just, over the next 5 years. That's the speed in which U.S. is growing and the world is growing. So how are people going to innovate their skills? How are they going to grow? How are they going to change? Because some of these jobs are going away. There's machinery coming out. There's more automation. There's more AI platforms like crazy being built on every possible stage. You go to a tech conference, it's all AI. All these paralegal jobs and legal secretaries are being outsourced to AI platforms. And a lot of the attorney work is being on AI platforms. And you're just seeing it, you're going, wow, I can't believe that. I mean, the sheer amount of things that are shifting, and yet the shortages in electrical and plumbing and some of the stuff that we need more people doing that you can't do otherwise. Great manufacturing, great craftsmanship, but a lot of change, man. So Bob, go for it.
So what do you say to somebody who says, okay, now I've got a little business, I want to grow it. I've got my target market, I know what I'm aiming at. What do you recommend to them? What advice do you give them?
I think just go do it. Just that's it. I mean, like
the execution.
Otherwise, and then do it all day, every day, all day, every day. Make sure you work out every day. Make sure you eat healthy every day. You know, make sure you do your meditation. I'm doing something called a napitation every day in the middle of the day, where I take a 10-minute meditation, 20-minute nap, and then wake up and do part 2 of the day. Like, make sure every day you're sending your love notes to the people you love and text and calling and feeling deeply connected. And then every day in business, be reading something and teaching something every day. So you're growing every day. So if you do the basics every day, you do the walk or the workout or whatever you're doing to keep yourself going, and the supplements and the veggie drink and eating and drinking water all day, you will have the energy to fuel the business. And you're not working like, oh, it's not that you're working 7 days a week. You're incorporating into your life. You're making it part of your life. It becomes something that's fun.
Right.
And you've got to like just have the endurance every day. It's like 7 days a week that you get up. That's 2 8-hour days right there if you do everything right, or 7-hour days. Like that's two. You're doubling your time. You got 2 14-hour work periods, and you're not working. You're just doing stuff you love and fun, and the things you hate. Well, you learn to love it. Make a game for yourself. Something like just okay. I got to do this. Put it in your calendar. Whatever you need to do wherever your weak area is, just go.
So if I were to ask your mom what's Troy's greatest attribute, what do you think she would say?
I have no idea. You can call her, Bob, and ask. I don't know, man. She'd love to talk to you, Bob. Oh, hi, Bob. How we doing? Come on by. Have some coffee.
I look forward to that day meeting her.
You'd love it. She'd love you, Bob. She's awesome.
Okay, so let's take Zach. Since Zach is your business partner and your brother, what's the greatest attribute that he would say you have?
Well, I think people skills. I mean, that's kind of really it. I mean, literally the ability to work with people. Yeah. Working and getting things going. And it's just, something I've grown. That's my God-given gift. Yeah. You know, everyone's got a God-given gift, is tapping into whatever that is, and accepting that, and accepting also the things that you're not good at, like being on time for something and paying attention to all the messages. Probably not. I have no idea what time it is sometimes. And I'm like, oh, Bob's calling it. Oh, nope, 9:58. Better get back to Bob here. So yes. So if you want to do any questions, let's do that. And
we're doing it.
In about 10 minutes, Bob.
Yeah, no worries. You guys, if you want to ask a question, go ahead and unmute yourself right now. Members, feel free to ask a question, type it in. We'll go ahead and address that. Troy, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you as a friend first, as a brother, and just how much I always learn something when I'm with you, and I'm always enjoying the time that we spend together, whether it's in the back of a limo or whether it's in at an event, or whether it's standing in line at Starbucks or Nectar or whatever it is. We always just have great conversation. We're coming to your house, and you guys, he has these fireside chats that he does, and he records them, and he's got so many different great entrepreneurs that he brings on there. And so look those up, find those from him. If you're not connected with him, connect with him. But find ways to look at some of the things that he puts out, because he's putting out great content from great experts, and it would be a great opportunity for you guys to really learn and grow. Larry Benet's online. Hey, Larry, good to see you. Bobby Joe Cook, Kat Ellis, Laura Ellen Love, Ashton, great to see you, Andre. You guys, if you have a question, type it in right now, because he's got to get going, so we want to let him go. From Flo, Troy, always great to hear from you speak. Let me see, I can't read the whole thing. How hard was it to pick a lane with all the companies that you've scaled?
So Bob, still learning to pick a lane, and it's ever evolving. And it's like, I know there's a lane right now of driving back into sales again right now in Simpluris, and driving back in marketing right now, and not dealing with management and like, hey, good luck guys, deal with that. There's a lane of recruiting a new president right now for the company. And we've been in this process and diving deep into that. There's a lane of staying out of Balancetics, and now getting back in and saying, oh, well, how do we show all these people doing it? We have all these people with little testimonials, little things, hey, use Balancetics or whatever, just little reviews. And now how do we make videos out of that? Or, jumping in a lane now to create a course and then jump out of it of TH and create content, and then have other people handle the posts, or just go ahead and post it. I'll create it, and you're constantly evolving. You're constantly saying, okay, what's working and what's not working. Yeah. And it's an ever evolving, I almost want to use the SHIT show, because the reality is it's chaos in some ways, and yet it's organized chaos, and it's discipline, and you're driving things forward. And if no one's ever actually built something great or truly built a larger entity or truly made something happen, everyone will judge what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Amen.
And so that's why you're always seeking somebody that's gone farther down the road to call you out on your bullshit.
Yeah.
So I have Jason Reed right now. That's one of my coaches. When it comes to running a larger company, Jason's got 2,500 employees, multiple entities, and he is on my ass. And guess what he chooses? He's not dealing with my people skills. Nope. He's not dealing with my leadership or my casting vision. Nope. He's not dealing with all of my ideas or the validation of their legit or choosing the right people. Nope. He's on my ass about finances. Bob, I do not watch P&Ls daily. I don't look at balance sheets. I'm only looking at cash for long enough. Do we have enough cash to make it through next week to build this next idea? Great, let's go. And that's kind of the idea, is like, how do we push it always to the next level? Yuko's always threatening to cut my credit cards off. So it's not my skill set. It's not something I'm passionate about, but I'm always driven to go there. So I'm always trying to find someone to call me out on my BS.
Love that. And that picking of the lane, what lane would you say is your lane right now?
Recruiting, vision, and decision.
Okay. Awesome. So guys, we need to let Troy get going so he can finish out his day. He was kind enough to hop on last minute. Really appreciate that. Guys, connect with him. Stay connected with him. You're going to learn so much. And if you can muster the idea of how to get him to coach you, even as a coach, I would say jump on the opportunity. Do whatever it takes to do that. One coach to another. I have so much respect for this gentleman. as first of who he is, secondly what he does, and I know that he can help you no matter what business you have if you're willing to commit and invest. So, guys, that being said, Troy, thank you for being on the call. Thanks for hopping on last minute. Guys, get out there, make it a great week. Do what it takes to get to your next level. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, and then teach others how to do the same thing so that they can be successful in whatever area of their life that they're looking for. So that being said, guys, get out there, make it a great week, and enjoy your next level. Thanks, Troy.
Bye, Bob. Bye, everybody.